Today, Mike Seiman, CEO extraordinaire of Digital Remedy, spills the beans on surviving the wilds of digital advertising. From the saga of name changes to the epic of bootstrapping and innovation, Mike's journey is a testament to passion, perseverance, and the art of staying relevant in the Adtech whirlwind. Brace yourself for tales of triumph, tribulation, and the kind of wisdom only gained through hard-fought battles in the digital domain. Today on the ADOTAT Show, get ready to laugh, learn, and know more than you did yesterday.
To win when it matters most. Facing multi-billion-dollar bet the company litigation? No problem. That's why we're here. Troutman Ami, LLP is a true legal powerhouse.
Hey there, everyone. I am your host, Pesach Ladin, and we're here with Mike Seiman, the CEO of Digital Remedy. All right, Mike, let's just cut to the chase. How are you really doing? And don't just give me the press release version.
Doing good. Can't really complain. There's no press release version. I mean, been in this thing since I feel like I've been in it since the birth, literally since the internet became something. I was trying to make money on it. I was probably 15, 16 years old when AOL announced, oh, check this browser out. I mean, I'm talking pre-Netscape. And it was awesome. Something I was always there's going to be something here back then. And fast forward to today, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of great times, and I can't complain. That's, it's every entrepreneur's dream to get into a new space, to get excited about it, to build something, to be with lots of people, to watch things build, and to still be here doing it 23, 25 something years later. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen Digital Remedy through 3 different versions. I think one was originally Buds.
Yeah.
You can say what that means if you want. And then there was CPXI, and now it's Digital Remedy. What was the impetus for the name change?
So, the truth is, many people will think Buds was all about buds, marijuana, or something of that iteration. But the truth is, the name started from a clothing company that my partner...
Yeah, Brothers Under the Skin, right? If I remember.
Under the Skin, yeah. That was the exact name that we came up with. It was for like an animated series of characters in a comic book and a clothing line that we were trying to do in between figuring this whole internet thing out and knowing that we could turn it into something large. Because back then, and I'm talking way, way back then, we were making money. $50,000, $100,000 a year in web content and stuff like that. But who knew that would ever be anything more than that and how you would even build it? I'm talking before ad networks. So we're like, oh, clothes are huge. Let's start this awesome clothing line. And that got parlayed just into the continuation of the name of the ad network. And then we evolved from there.
Yeah, but that first check you get, I remember like my first big check, I put it on the window and I was just like, this check is like for $500,000. It's not all going to me. Mm-hmm. But when I saw that check, it was amazing. And now, you get in this industry, you get checks like that size all the time, but still, I still want that feeling of that check. I don't know what the amount would be now, like 50 million, 500
Maybe,
million.
I don't know, but I remember that first $1 million check, and it was actually from anybody who's a student of the industry, I'm sure remembers Joe Spicer and Alex Arnofsky at Azoogle Ads. And
wow, yes, of course.
Yeah, we were one of their affiliates, utilizing some of their programs and whatever mobile
they were huge
freebies we did from them. We optimized it with creatives and buying on different websites and ad networks, and made our first $1 million that way.
I think Joe and Alex have sold 2 or 3 companies since then. PetFlow, and then they had a content site for a while. I think something may have gone public. I don't remember everything, but yeah, they've been since they moved back. They moved to New York City a decade or so ago.
Yeah, Joe. Joe, I know now is lives nearby me on Long Island, and Alex, I think, is off, wife, kids, gallivanting across Europe or whatever he's doing. But he's doing great. They're doing good.
So from college dorm to digital domination, that's quite a leap. What's the secret sauce? How did you manage to transform a college project into a major player in the digital advertising arena without losing your mind or soul?
I can't comment that I haven't lost either. I mean, maybe I have. I mean, you'd have to be an outsider looking in
Well,
to
I think
say,
we've all lost our mind at some point. We all have a story.
yeah, no, that's absolutely for sure. The truth be told, I mean, you just grind it every day. It's like I tell a lot of young entrepreneurs, I say, you can't look at it and say like, did I make it or not? Because so many people fail. And it's not because they didn't do it right. It's not what's the answer. The simple answer is you just work. You just work nonstop. You got to put work first, unfortunately. At those times when everything's about creating a business and being an entrepreneur, at some point you might have to even put it before family. That's why I didn't start a family till much later in life. I mean, that was the focus then. It was day and night. Wake up, exercise, work till 12, 1 in the morning, and then sleep, eat, do it all over again. Every single day was all about that. And it was about learning more about the industry. And then it's luck. I stepped in gold because I was one of the first people that was able to walk into the internet and start building from there. So it was just a lot of luck in timing and the right pieces and adding the right people.
What was the biggest oh crap moment in the early days, and how did you navigate that?
The biggest what?
Oh crap moment. Like
I
shouldn't have done that. That was just stupid moment.
I don't know that it was stupid. It was not being educated enough in business to really understand that, wait, you mean you have to pay for things you bought sometimes before you actually cashed the check for the service you provided? And then going, holy shit, there's this battle between DPO and DSO, right? And figuring and learning that out. And when you're a 23, 24-year-old kid, not by today's standards, but by 20, 30 years ago, when we didn't understand business then, it was like, wait, I still have to wait another 45 days to get paid? What am I going to do? Everybody wants their money. And waiting for that $1 million check and owing everyone, hundreds of thousands of dollars, had to beg mom and dad and my partner and cousins and what, like, can you give me $5,000? 10, like I have to at least pay someone $50,000. So I remember having to borrow some money, nothing crazy, but $50,000 from my parents and my partner did just to make ends meet. And they didn't have the money. So, we did the best we could on credit cards and everything until that check finally came. And we said, we did it because back then couldn't walk into a bank as a 23-year-old kid and just be like, oh, can I have $1 million line of credit? No, today you can, because the economy is much different for young entrepreneurs because so much has been proven since the internet days. But we're talking early, pre anybody knowing what the internet was. So if you walk into a bank and you're just like, hey, here's my DPO, DSO, can I borrow a couple $100,000? They're like, what are you talking about? No. And so that was a big oh crap moment lesson to learn for sure.
How do you keep innovative in an environment that an industry that constantly changes?
I mean, the truth is about our business is really that we're always doing something different and new, and we add a lot of pieces. So we're more like a holding company of lots of assets. So there's always different assets. I mean, today we have one much stronger asset than we had before, but we've sold a lot of pieces of the business and divested them along the way. So it's hard for anyone outside looking in to really understand. But, whether it was an affiliate network, an SSP, different pieces, an ad network that we've sold off along the way and iterated new things. So we're always building new products, new projects, new technologies in the space along the lines of where it goes. And because we've been in it so long and never changed, the early days was some websites of content, and it was an ad network, then it was, a media execution arm, then it was a supply side platform, publisher monetization, all those pieces moving on and on to today where we're much more into the CTV movement and attribution modeling and platforms and things of those nature.
What's something that's been keeping you up at nights, like either daydreams or nightmares?
Keeping me up at night.
Besides binge watching or existential dread?
Yeah. It's really the necessity to constantly innovate and always find something new to prove yourself and prove your value in the space.
Well, you have a kid also, right?
What's that?
You have a
I have
child
I have,
also.
I have two stepkids. Um,
And they have to keep you up at night also.
they do pretty well. They take care of themselves, so they're much older. So
Right.
I'm able to deal with that. They work, they go to college, they do things like that. So I don't know if they.
Well, I thought you had a younger kid now too.
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, 19 and 26.
Well, that's still young.
Yeah,
No.
today's standards, but
They keep at that age they keep us up in different ways.
right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that keeps me up at night, but it's always it's my employees, right? The hundreds of employees we have, they have families, they have young children,
Right.
they have jobs, they have things that need to go right for them, which means the company working out so they can achieve their bonuses, their goals, their passions, their dreams. They can move up in the world. And I always need to make sure that we're innovating and continuing to create growth in our business so we can constantly elevate our superior employees to new levels.
You're the fourth CEO in a row. We just had Drew Stein of Autogent on, and then we were at the other one, and they've all said the same thing, that there is the responsibility that they have learned in this age, not 20 years ago, but now the responsibility they have to their employees, which is something you don't hear at 20 years old or 25 years old. But once you hit your 40s and you realize that you're responsible for all these people, and if you go out of business, they don't have a job.
Right. And maybe they'll find a job eventually, but immediately they wouldn't. And that's why you always have to stay focused on, different things in terms of how you think about. For me, I always ran a business that needed to make money. And I don't mean that from a revenue standpoint. I mean what it really means to make money, profit, actual profit, not faked, manipulated EBITDA that, if we didn't have to pay these one-time fees. And actual cash profits at the end of the year. So that way the company is afloat and is flush with cash to continue to operate. I wasn't ever one of those founders that was just going to raise tens of hundreds of millions of dollars to just do whatever we wanted to keep the company afloat. And yeah, maybe another PE will come if something goes wrong. It was always about, we need to make money every single year and be profitable so we can continue. And if God forbid there's a year where we can't pull off money, we'll at least only lose a little bit that we can afford it.
Speaking of employees, what's your approach to hiring? Are there any deal breakers? You've hired a lot of rock stars, I've noticed.
Yeah, the deal breaker for me is truly just if any one of my employees has doubts, right? I need everyone to buy in. I don't push some dream that I have about some person or some dream that someone else had that this is the guy or the gal that we need to hire. If everyone doesn't see it and everyone can't find the right future of my upper leaders with the person that we're hiring, then it's a no-go, right? Everyone needs to see that future and that vision and find that respect in that human to truly believe they're going to change the shape of the organization. And that obviously doesn't trickle down to the lowest level of employees for me because I'm not the one hiring those people. But when you're talking about senior VPs and C-levels and up, I need my team to buy in because I want us all to be able to work together and build the brand and the business and the growth together and feel like a good, strong team.
Was there ever a moment that you thought, we're done for, this is over, and then it turned around?
Yes. So I can definitely say that. Not in the way that you might think, I guess, from the traditional business sense of, oh my God, what are we going to do? We don't have enough business to operate. But more in the just sense of like dealing with DPO and DSO and having enough money to make sure we play catch up on a big client that owed us, or dealing with lines of credit we borrowed or debt we were in and different situations where we had to pay off debt or deal with bankers or deal with people that made our lives difficult. And having those moments like, this is really difficult and I don't know that we're going to make it through here, but we did.
Was there ever a time where you just said, like, this is too stressful, I want to try something less stressful, like bull riding or something?
Actually, no. I did. I enjoyed the stress. I thought about the stress at times being just too much.
Right.
And like, this is not good for my health, maybe. But I just love it, the business and creating it and building it and growing it and dealing with these things. Like it's interesting for me to deal with these situations and find outs and find ways to create the right positive energy and momentum for the business the way it needs to be created. I enjoy that. That's something like I actually like. I didn't know it when I was 20, but today I know it. And then I enjoy those aspects of the business.
Are there any secrets to staying distressed besides, drinking?
I don't drink that much. I live a pretty healthy lifestyle.
I think Long Island has a lot to do with it. What I just said, Long Island. I'm very proud of myself. I still haven't lost my New York accent.
It was good. I mean, I don't know if Long Island has anything to do with it, but I eat right. I take care of myself. I work out every day. And I just stay as healthy as possible all the time, just because it's good. Doesn't mean I don't drink once in a while. I don't go out. I don't do things. But for the most part, I live a pretty healthy lifestyle that allows me to enjoy and feel good about myself and my future.
Every superhero has an origin story. What's yours, Mike? And don't spare any dramatic details for us.
Like the origin of my birth and my life?
Yeah, what's your origin story? Like, what made you a superhero? Like, why do you think you're so good at what you do?
It's a really good question that puts me on the spot. I'm trying to think, like, right now off the top of my head. I'm passionate about winning.
Right.
Every win is important to me, whether it's like a $5.
Were you that way as a teenager? Were you like,
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to prove to everybody that I had something special. Right? Like I got picked on in high school and grade school and whatever, got made fun of for being Jewish or whatever it was that you had to deal with. You dealt with anti-Semitism. I dealt with being short. I dealt with whatever things I dealt with. And I just always wanted to prove to everyone that you don't know what you're missing. Like, I'm going to be something. And I always used to joke with my friends in high school that I was going to be a millionaire before I was 21. Didn't happen.
Success is the best revenge, right?
Right. And so I always had that motivation to just do it, to quote Nike, unfortunately. And that motivation just kept propelling me to new heights and wanting to just do better and wanting to be more like this person or find another mentor that, I can go even further and even further and even further. And just knowing that I built a business that can continue to grow and create just kept going.
Can you share a battle scar from your life? What was your toughest fight, and how did you come out on the other side of that fight?
Toughest fight? I'd really have to say I'm lucky that I didn't really have a fight per se that I really needed to win. And I'm sure there were lots of battles along the way that maybe I was less aware of in terms of business, people trying to take over our business or, thinking like, we're going to shut CPX down or Digital Remedy down and they don't need to be here. And maybe I didn't know of those things. I just kept persevering to win. So I don't know that there was like a fight or I don't think of a fight like that where I was actually toe to toe with an outcome that was a win that I needed to think of.
Is there anything in yourself that you fight that keeps you from being successful sometimes?
I think I'm very passionate. So I think sometimes that passion can turn a little bit narcissistic, right? And
you think you lose sight of really what matters sometimes, or lose sight of the end goal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I lose sight of it. I think, part of being a successful entrepreneur and building a successful business is a lot about dealing with people, right? And dealing with people is not always about being right all the time. It's about hearing people. It's about motivating people. It's about helping people feel passion and feel like their voice is heard. And as an entrepreneur that's always struggled to try to be the best, sometimes you have to battle those demons in yourself to try to always be right. And sometimes it's not about being right. The way to win is to listen, to let people be heard and feel heard. And they may agree with you in the long run anyway, but there's an easier way to get people to agree with you. I'm learning in my latter years that by giving them a voice and hearing them out and letting them share what their passion is and what their vision is a better way to get them to, agree with your vision and find an equal way out than to just put pressure on people to listen to you because you're the boss.
How did you land your first investment, and did you have to wear a suit?
Yes, I've had to wear suits many times, so that's for sure. How did we land? I mean, we went through the process like everyone else. We hired bankers. We went on road shows. We met with lots of PEs and different investors in different iterations.
Was it crowdfunding, angel investing?
No,
venture capital.
Our first investment. Look, we like I said, I was lucky. We were lucky to start making money from day one, right on the internet, because we were in it right away. But the reality of that is, when we finally wanted to raise some money, we raised venture debt and some other pieces, and we brought it in from a BDC. And I think, talking back to one of your battle scars, one of our biggest battle scars was when that BDC actually went out of business.
Oh, wow.
They went bankrupt and got bought by a much bigger company who probably looked at us and went, "Oh, how much do they owe us? 5 shekels? Oh, who gives a shit? Just tell them to pay us right now." And we're like, "Well, we're not just going to pay this right now." And so figuring out how to negotiate that out and bring in board members at the time who had gray hair, because I was only in my 30s, to kind of talk to bankers on the other end and kind of express to them, like, these guys know what they're doing. Doesn't mean you can just ask them for all the money back right now. Just have it right this second. It's going to take them time, but they're paying you on time all the time. They're paying their debt back. Give them some time to figure things out, and us having to shuffle and divest some assets to pay that out and create some success and, longevity for the company. I think that was definitely a difficult time.
Is there any nightmare investment stories that you can share without getting sued?
I think that is the nightmare investment story, right? Like, you have someone who you borrowed money from. You have terms of how you're going to pay them back, how you're going to do things. And lo and behold, they're going out of business. Now, some might think that's a great thing. They're going out of business, until you find out that someone much bigger bought them. And now you owe that person money who you don't know from a hole in the wall. They haven't been on your board for the past 4 years, and you having a relationship with them and meeting them every quarter and talking to them. This is just someone bigger who bought them, and it's just like, okay, who are you? And you're like,
right.
What do you mean? And now
no relationship with you.
Right. And you have to just deal with it. And they're just, okay, pay us.
It was the biggest piece of ridiculous advice that an investor has told you in the past that you just ignored?
I don't know that I have we haven't been a company that has been heavily invested in. So I don't necessarily have a story along those lines. But what I do know is that investors generally tend to look at 30,000 feet, and sometimes they get a little too granular.
Right.
And you just have to push back and say, look, you don't know the space. You may understand the outskirts of what's going on, but they're not really in the daily grind of the business. So sometimes they present things to you that just seem a little far-fetched of what you're going to have to deal with when you sometimes know better. But if you're dealing with an investor, sometimes you got to be a little more savvy about how you communicate with them so everyone can stay on the same page and work together.
You've been in this field for a while, where the goalposts move faster than a cheetah on a skateboard. What has been your biggest game changer in ad tech during your tenure?
Biggest game changer? I mean, I think because of our tenure and how long we've been here, we're probably the oldest company that still exists in the space. Literally, quite literally. So I think when I look back, I think we've pivoted so many times. So we've had so many big moments in terms of...
How did you react to programmatic?
How did we what?
How did you react to programmatic advertising?
I mean, I think we embraced it. Ultimately in the early days when, I'll date myself with people that people may know or may not know, depends on how long they've been in the industry, but like Mike Walrath and Right Media days and those kind of things. I mean, we just jumped in head first. I remember when we were just running a small ad network and buying and selling media from publishers. And, one day Aaron Letcher came to our office in Rockville Center, the small office with like 6 of us. He was like, "Oh, you should join Right Media." And we were like, "What?" And he's like, built a sweetheart deal for us. I think we were the second network that joined. And we just were like, this is awesome. We just got access to like 800 times more media that we didn't have before. And we're going to take advantage of this. And we just quadrupled the size of our business literally like overnight.
What was the best thing about Right Media, and why was it dynamic pricing?
Best thing about Right Media was just look, if you could show the numbers from a CPM standpoint, you could buy it. It wasn't so much locked in deals and this company's going to pay this and these handshake agreements. It was literally come in, pay a penny higher CPM, and you win the traffic. And we were able to do it because we knew the deals that could execute. We knew how to create ROI. We knew how to make things work. And so we were able to walk in there and do it. And they were able to lock in some big publishers then, like MySpace and then eventually Yahoo coming in and so many big players. And there was so much inventory that we were just able to buy it and make it work and find ways to arbitrage it through creating ads that got better clicks, that converted better, that just worked better in general. And we just played the game, and we played
what do you
by
think
the
was the
rules.
what do you think was the most disruptive technology at the time? Or in general, what has been the most disruptive technology to your business?
Disruptive to my business? I think there was always disruptions, but we played them well, right? So when you had the exchange, Right Media came out, that was disruptive to what we were doing, but we embraced it. And we jumped in head first and said, all right, let's do this. We know we have a strong play against our own publishers, so let's let the exchange monetize them to create additional value for our publishers because it'll make us stronger and we'll be able to buy more media on other publishers. So we took advantage and we pivoted. Then SSPs started going crazy and we said, why don't we create an SSP? So we created an SSP that we later then sold for a lot of money, which was a nice successful deal for us. And yeah, I mean, when SSPs and DSPs came into the market way back in the day, yeah, it was scary. But for the most part, we were just embraced it and said, all right, well, let's create an SSP. Let's do this.
How do you decide to pivot or stay the course?
We got to know that it's real. We got to see what it is and know that it's going to be something that's really going to change the game. And then as we see it, we make that decision. What I generally like to say is, when we jump in to whatever SSP game or, buying through DSPs or exchanges or whatever it is, we're never the first, we're never the second, we're never the third, but we're always successful because we watch what the first, the second, the third do. We make sure we don't make the same mistakes. We don't waste the same amount of money, but that we're able to do it more efficiently and cost effective. And, I'll quote from a conversation from an amazing leader in the space because he was both at Right Media and at Nexus, which was later Xandr, acquired by Microsoft, Brian O'Kelly, and he always said to me, he said, we'd talk and he'd be like, Mike, the truth is we'll probably both end up making the same amount of money. And he said, because while you might only sell your business for a few $100 million, you're going to own all of it. And I might sell my business for billions, but I'm going to take so much money along the way to get to those billions that I'll probably make the same amount as you because I'll only own 10, 20% of it. And he may end up being right. We'll see when I end up selling a whole business if that ever happens.
I don't know. Scope 3 is looking pretty good.
Well, that's his second iteration now. And we'll see how that works. But when he was doing AppNexus and Xandr, I mean, that was the story, right? He was gunning for that $2 billion exit, but who knows how much he owned actually of it. But, he didn't make billions. But
he still dresses the same. He didn't change that. He's still a T-shirt guy.
Why not? Got to live your dream.
Right. Looking ahead, because looking back is only for reflection, what is the benefit, with the benefit of hindsight and a gaze in the crystal ball, where do you see the future of digital advertising going?
Such a loaded question. I like it.
What emerging technology are you most excited about? I guess it's going to be AI for everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't be excited.
Can't not talk about AI.
Yeah, I mean, there's a future there. I mean, I think it definitely still needs people and people to think about it and play with it and work with it. But I think it changes the way we think about advertising and planning and making the right decisions. I think ultimately there's going to be a closed loop system, and I don't mean a closed loop system like a Meta or an Instagram or any of
Well,
those
more walled
closed
gardens
walled
or
gardens.
private networks,
I'm talking about a closed loop, meaning take everything:
right?
search, social, display, audio, CTV, linear, whatever have you, at some point, and this may be 5-10 years out easily. But the reality is, I don't know, I'm Domino's Pizza. I want to sell pizzas. I'm willing to spend $10 million a month to sell more pizzas. Click, 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 done. It's going to figure it out. Now, people are going to have to trust that system, whatever's created and however it works, and it's going to decide, and there may be many different people who create these pieces that do it, but it's going to decide this is what you're going to get from social, this is what you're going to get from search, display, CTV, audio, that are going to create the highest ROI. And every step of the place, you have to let us just push budgets in different places that we're seeing working because of the technology, because of the AI, because of the ROI and the attribution. And everyone's going to have to agree what those pieces are and just let one system do it. And I think there'll be a couple systems that create this type of solution, but people have to embrace it. They have to stop thinking about, I want to just, this is my search, this is what I do with social. They don't talk. Advertising needs to talk to every channel in one closed loop system to make those decisions of where to go, where to buy, and how to iterate, even adding creative in at some point. I think that's the future that I'd love to help create a piece of or create pieces into.
How do you plan to stay relevant in an industry that's notorious for short memory?
Got to keep reinventing yourself.
What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? Keep reinventing yourself?
In this space,
Yeah,
I tell them, find a different space, because this space is crowded. It's loaded
right,
with a lot of money, and companies like the Trade Desk already exist and are making billions upon billions of value. So to try
right,
to jump in and disrupt it, it's difficult. So you
right.
got to find something else. This is no longer a new space of startups. It's a very complex ecosystem where there's a lot of competition, and it's difficult to just jump in head first.
Viewability or attention?
I mean, if viewability is real, then it is attention, isn't it?
Many people are arguing it's not. Double Verify, IAS are all arguing that viewability is a metric we no longer should be using.
Well, right. So hence the point, if viewability
Right,
is real, meaning someone's actually viewing it. I don't mean it's on the screen and no one's paying attention to it, but if someone actually viewed it, then it is
right,
attention. So that is the future. But yeah, viewability was sort of a joke of like, oh, you saw the ad? Well, not really. It was just on your screen for a certain period of time, but it doesn't mean you saw it. Doesn't mean you paid attention to it. But we're never beholden to tactics like that usually. I mean, obviously, we always try to keep viewability super high and strong, and we use all the third parties that our clients want us to make sure that viewability is strong and that we're hitting metrics. But we've always been an audience metric type of company, even though we hadn't used technologies that now exist to prove that there's real attention, not audience attention, on those advertisements. But for us, we've always been measured historically as a company that can either drive clicks, conversions, now foot traffic, whatever it is, or actual people that are going to come to your website because they saw the ad, not because they viewed it, because they saw the ad and then want to come check out the brand. That's always
right.
how we've been looked at. So we always knew, or thought we knew, that we were always going to have a place in the space and be relevant, because any of these companies who fly by night, who take advantage of post-impression pixels or whatever it is, we knew that was going to stop eventually. We didn't know when, but we knew at some point this cookie bombing and all these things were going to go away. And we didn't want to be a fly-by-night company. We wanted to be someone who people could rely on and count on to drive real value. And so we always pride ourselves on driving real value and real ROI for our advertisers.
In a perfect world, what does the future of digital advertising look for you in 10 years?
Oh, future of digital advertising look for us in 10 years?
No, you personally. In a perfect world, what would it look like? Would it be, cars with screens on them that have advertising? How do you see it in 10 years?
I'll go back to that closed loop system. I think I see it like that. For me personally, 10 years from now, I see me not being in it.
You're like,
I see
I'm
you
done.
not even looking at an advertisement at all and just relaxing somewhere on a beach in 10 plus years from now.
Where?
But
Where are you
where?
moving to?
I have no
You're not
plans
that
yet.
far from a beach as it is now, I believe, right?
No, I could be on that beach, at least in the summertime.
So if you could, before we go, if you could send yourself a text message to yourself, a time traveling text message, when you had first started in the industry, what's a piece of advice you would give yourself, and would you listen to yourself?
When I first started in this industry,
Yeah.
the text I would have sent myself is, you're going to hear about some stupid, ridiculous thing called Bitcoin. Just buy as many of them as possible. Not even crazy. Buy like 50,000 worth and just let it sit on the sideline.
And just like that, we are flicking the off button on what's been nothing short of a carnival ride through the digital ad cosmos with Mike Seiman. Mike, thanks for sharing your epic journey from a college startup to a digital dynasty. Shout out to our superhero sponsor, Troutman Men, for powering this podcast adventure. Without you, we'd just be shouting into the void. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and know more than you did yesterday.